Hello everybody, it's Shane, the New Yorker, well, in New York. And what do you do when you have a layover or a half a day or a full day just to do nothing in Manhattan except see the sights? Well, today I'm gonna take you on a walking tour of my home city. Well, I'm from the Bronx, but Manhattan, you know, this city as the outer boroughs call it, even though to tourists you're gonna think that everything's the city, which technically you're correct. Today, let's go through Manhattan, let's see the sights. My picks, of course. You're not gonna see everything. We can see things that I think are truly spectacular. Starting with, in the heart of it all, on 5th Avenue, right off of 42nd Street, the New York Public Library. You've seen it in many movies, most notably Ghostbusters, and it's just a beautiful place to just take a few pictures in front of. And if you want to go inside and check it out, you can. The real library is over there where you can actually take books out of. You do not want to do those tour buses. You're not gonna see much. You're gonna see some of the basic sights. You're not gonna get a chance to enjoy them. You're gonna speed right past them. New York is a city for pedestrians. So take a walk. Now, being the pansy as I am now, I'm not used to the humidity. There's no better time to walk in Manhattan or anywhere in New York City than October, November, and early December. But regardless of the time you come, these are the spots I think you should check out. So now, on to our second destination. Let's go. A mere 2 short blocks east on 42nd Street from the New York City Public Library. This is Vanderbilt Avenue and 42nd Street, East 42nd Street. Pershing Square. It is where the Avengers fought in the first Avengers movie. Also where the dog got bit in I Am Legend. Fucking devastating. It meets Grand Central. It's where you can really check out the Chrysler Building. It's where one Vanderbilt is. Now let's go inside and check out the beautiful, the majestic, they don't make them like they used to, Grand Central Station. So this is the majestic Grand Central Station Terminal. Truly, it's just a stunning, grand building. They do have periodic light shows that accentuate the constellations that are on the ceiling. And a side note, up there, you'll see that little brown spot. Now that is how Grand Central would have looked had they not restored it in the 90s, which was due in great part, the restoration, to Jackie Kennedy Onassis loving this building and rallying with her rich friends to save it and restore it. You can also find on the concourse downstairs a lot of eats. At first I was very hesitant to ever eat here or even have a drink here, because I remember how this place used to be, how gross and disgusting it was before they renovated it, but now it's pretty safe to have a meal or a drink here, I have to say. So now we're going to hop on the New York City subway, on the Green Line, on the 6th train. Please don't think of Jennifer Lopez. Stop. And we're gonna hop up to 86th Street to our next destination. And now I have to buy a Metro card. I think I still have a card that I can use and refill. Otherwise, it's a $1 upcharge for a new card. Crap. Start. English. Metro card. Yep. Boom. So a pro tip from a lifelong New Yorker: if you're taking the subway and you see a car that's completely empty, that means there's no AC, or this a poor individual who their odor would be more than you want to inhale. Pro tip. All right, 86th Street. Let's go upstairs. So then you come to the area that is known as Museum Mile on 5th Avenue. There's a ton of different museums here, from Latin heritage to fine art, but none more popular than the Met. Yes, this is where the Met Gala happens every year, and I am on the world famous steps. There's always different performers everywhere. I do absolutely adore all the different art vendors that you can find outside of the Met, underneath this gorgeous canopy, and you can find some truly, truly talented artists. From here, we'll pivot from the Met and enter Central Park on the East 84th Street entrance. When going into Central Park and taking a stroll through it, especially this high up on the east end or west side, you're gonna be tempted to walk around the reservoir. Don't do it. It looks like you can easily traverse it on a map, but it is full of ins and outs and curves and turns and twists, and it is a long, long way. Take this route instead. You'll be happier for it. Be very cognizant and careful of the cyclists at Central Park. They're going slow, but oftentimes they will speed by, and if you're not paying attention to your walk or don't walk signal, your ass is flattened. As the sign says, this right here is the Great Lawn. I absolutely love the Great Lawn. This is where some of the biggest concerts ever put on in New York City have been. This is where you'll see a lot of softball games on a weekday in the afternoon and all throughout the weekend. There's 8 fields in total, including the backfield, which where I used to play a lot. And look at the view. Now, please, when is the game going on? Don't be one of those people that parks themselves out there on the lawn to get a sunbathe in tan. Don't interrupt the games, please. Because you're gonna get hit with a ball and then you're gonna get upset and the player's gonna be like, what are you doing there? And you're gonna be, well, it's New York, I can be anywhere I want. Like, no. Stay on the sidelines, be under the trees. Now we're going there to Central Park's Belvedere Castle / Shakespeare in the Park. This amphitheater, just past the Great Lawn and before Belvedere Castle, is where Shakespeare in the Park is. Years and years and years ago, I saw Two Gentlemen of Verona here. It was the 60s Vietnam War statement version of the play that was updated to make a political statement about the Second Gulf War. It was with Rosario Dawson and my friend Renee Elise Goldsberry.
What? Hold on. Is that Oscar Isaac? And I didn't know that was Oscar Isaac.
I was lucky enough to get comp tickets, but usually you have to show up super early and wait online. But if you have a day to spend doing that, to get to the box office, to see a performance here, I highly recommend it. Just past the amphitheater is a Shakespeare garden, and you can ascend those steps to reach the top of Belvedere Castle. It's too hot for this though, good Lord in heaven. If you're ever watching the news and you see what the temperature is during the weather in Central Park, these are the equipment thingies that tell you that. So just, that's your useless fact of the day. So now we're gonna take a walk along the bike lane, Central Park Drive, down towards the lake. You go this way and kind of venture off into the forest area of Central Park. It is very safe during the day. At night, I wouldn't recommend it. So this is the lake at Central Park. It is, of course, a man-made lake because it's a man-made park, but you've definitely seen that gazebo in tons of film and television shows. You can do rowboats, it's super romantic, and I highly recommend it in the autumn or the spring. And just look at that view. Worth every free penny. just past where the lake is, you go up this passageway, or even the one over there on the main road, and it comes to a very important place in my life, honoring someone who has been extraordinarily influential for millions, if not billions, around the world. You're about to find out who that is.
Yeah. Isn't it a shame how we take a childish love without thinking anymore, forgetting to get back.
This is Strawberry Fields, located on Central Park West and 72nd Street, across street from the Dakota, which I'll walk over to in a moment. That's the Imagine Memorial. That is the memorial for John Lennon. I love this place. It is one of the most serene, beautiful spots in all of Central Park. I remember the night George Harrison passed away, or the night of. Thousands gathered here, as they do to celebrate John's birthday, John's death, and I'm sure, hopefully many, many years from now, when Ringo and Paul go, thousands, if not millions, will gather here and sing in celebration and thanks to the most influential band and musicians of all time, the Beatles.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that building is the Dakota. It's called the Dakota because it was the first large structure in this area ever built back in the 19th century. And people used to say that it was so secluded, especially during the wintertime, that you felt like you were in the Dakotas. That is also where John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Sean Lennon called home. Yoko still lives there in this apartment on the 7th floor. Many others, many famous people have lived there, including Maury Povich. You are not the father, or are you? Right there at the entrance is where John Lennon was shot and killed at the age of 40 in 1980. I'm not gonna go over there and look at it up close. It's kind of morbid. His life should be celebrated. Architecturally speaking alone, Dakota is one of the most striking Gothic buildings in all the world, and especially in this country. Side note, Rosemary's Baby was shot here. They've had replicas of it in various different productions, such as Vanilla Sky and Two of Us, but Rosemary's Baby was the last one shot here. You go online and check out all the different apartments that are for sale there. Like, there's so many different versions of apartments in there. It's super cool. Thank you, John, for the music. Moving on. When in New York, there are two things you should never ever do. One is have dirty water dogs. Food trucks, regulated, great. Dirty water dog, hot dogs and pretzels, terrible. But jokes aside, even though that's for real, the true thing you should never ever do when here is go on one of those horse carriage rides. Those poor horses are mistreated, malnourished, they're enslaved. They are put out into the heat and they collapse and die on the street, and you should not keep horse carriages in New York City in business. There are other different methods of going around the park that are all overpriced, but at least the poor animals, quote unquote, that have no say in the matter aren't being mistreated. Just please, I implore you, do not partake in horse carriage rides in Central Park or anywhere in New York City. So I'm zigzagging, went from Strawberry Fields, which is up there, then back through down to a fountain that most people think is a fountain from Friends. It is not. They did not shoot here. They did not shoot in New York, period. They just had the exterior of the building there. This fountain is just gotten an urban legend myth surrounding it that it's the Friends fountain, but it's not. That's in the back lot of Warner Brothers. A word that I think is used way too often is iconic. This bridge I'm walking over right now, Bow Bridge, is indeed one of the most iconic spots in all of Central Park and all of New York City. And I've said that before, but it's true. Look at the masonry. Ooh, and look at the view. Known as the best acoustics in all of Manhattan. These archways. Again, you've seen them in so many different film and television shows, but just let's take a walk in there and listen to these acoustics. For all you Marvel fans, just above where the archways are with the beautiful acoustics is this crossover bridge that the Avengers, at the end of the first movie, disassembled. Where Thor took Loki back to Asgard and everyone shook hands and drove off in their fancy cars and shit. Why they did it here? I have no idea. It makes about as much sense as everything in Phase 4. Oh! So just past the fountain and lake is the promenade, accentuated by the band shell. This is the area where is the starting staging area for the AIDS Walk every year, which I highly encourage everyone to do. You don't have to have it. You don't have to know anyone who does, but it's an amazing march to raise awareness and funds for the fight that does continue against HIV and AIDS. But the band shell area is where they have the staging point, and then one of the more beautiful walks where the canopies meet, the Central Park Promenade. You really feel like a tiny, insignificant piece of the planet when you're in Sheep's Meadow. It is just surrounded by all these ginormous skyscrapers, and it's the second largest open air grass seating area in the park behind the Great Lawn. And it is closer to the Midtown area, you know, like the very end / start of the Upper West Side. So you can kind of be a little bit closer to the action if you're looking to be near Columbus Circle, Times Square. And right over yonder are two more spots that you will recognize from one of my favorite 80s movies. Let's go. Right along 66th Street and Central Park West. If you remember Ghostbusters, 1984 original real Ghostbusters, you'll remember when the terror dog chased Louis Tully into Central Park, Rick Moranis' character, and to that restaurant with the windows. This is it. Tavern on the Green. It is one of the most storied restaurants in all of New York City. Fun fact, it was the original horse stables of Central Park. So if you go upstairs to like the third floor, the attic, second and third floor, whatever it is, the attic, it still kind of smells like hay. I know that because when I used to work on One Light to Live, which is basically right down the block, cross street at 66th Street, we shot there on location, and I had to run over, they didn't take me with them because the producers hated me there, but I had to run over some revisions to the cast and crew, and so the staging area was in the attic over there, so it really smelled like hay. And right across the street, right there, is the Gozer building from Ghostbusters. Obviously, matte paintings, lifted up further into the sky, but that's it. Next door to is the church that Stay Puft stepped on, because nobody steps on a church in my town. Now I'm walking down from the 66th Street even area near Tavern on the Green towards 59th Street and Columbus Circle, the end or the beginning on the west side of Central Park, depending on how you look at it. Now, if you go towards the path that way, you'll go to the Carousel, which is beautiful and wonderful for kids especially, as well as Woman Rink, which is the ice skating rink, and in the summer carnival area and roller skating rink that you've seen in Home Alone 2 and so forth, which is super awesome, especially during the winter season for ice skating. We've gone many years in a row. In fact, when they took it on a school trip there in 1991 or 2, early 92, Balls and I and all our classmates got to see them shooting Home Alone 2 right around the bend with the fake snow and the pigeon lady and so forth. Anyway, that's on yonder, but because of this walking tour having to be a certain set of hours, I'm taking you out. We're gonna exit the park on the west side and go down towards Hell on Earth. Guess where that is? Okay, so I spoke too soon. You don't actually exit to Hell on Earth, which is, surprise, surprise, Times Square. You do exit onto Columbus Circle, though, which is always booming with activity. Sometimes it's a farmer's market, sometimes it's just different artists and food carts. You've got the Globe there. You've got a really fancy dining area in there. Funny enough, this used to be known as kind of the dead zone of Broadway, because Broadway runs up yonder over there. And there was like this convention market center over there, and it sucked. So they finally revitalized it, put in a Time Warner Center, which I don't believe is a Time Warner Center anymore. I don't know. I actually used to work in that building when I worked for Turner Broadcasting for a few years. Where haven't I worked? With you, baby. Beautiful fountains over there. The old fountain here, always jumping. and the gateway from Central Park into Midtown Manhattan on the way to Hell on Earth. 7 blocks up that way, give or take, is Lincoln Center. I'm not gonna cross over there today, but that's right up there. So if Lincoln Center is your thing and you wanna go check out some opera, some plays, or just see Lincoln Center for yourself, it's right up that way. On Broadway between about 62nd and 65th, 66th Street. So when exiting Columbus Circle, you're gonna be tempted to walk down Broadway towards Times Square. Don't do it. Go down 9th Avenue, which is that a ways. Great bars, great restaurants, and you're gonna need to eat at this point in your trip. My recommendation, despite all the great stuff in Hell's Kitchen along 8th and 9th Avenue, is Peachy Keen on 43rd, West 43rd between 8th and 9th. Great brunch, boozy brunch, and a lot of surprises inside that are super duper fun. Hell on Earth, also known as Times Square. Look, after you get food at Peachy Keen or wherever you decide to go, since you're not a native New Yorker, you gotta come here. Native New Yorkers don't come to Times Square. We dread it, we hate it. We got over there all those fake Spider-Men, fake Hello Kitties, fake Disney, fake Elmos. Don't give your money to any of them, but you gotta come here, take a picture for the gram, check it off your bucket list. It's what it is. The ball is over there. You're not gonna see it drop unless you're here on New Year's. Don't come here on New Year's because you gotta wear an adult diaper. I'm not joking about that. Look, you gotta come here. You gotta take the picture. Like I said, put it on the gram, put it on the TikTok, and then make your way to the 7 train, which is in Times Square train station over yonder on 42nd Street, which is where we're gonna get on and go to our next destination. You see, I can't even speak right because I just hate being here. It's like, it's terrible. It's vomit on the street. It's literally just awful. Like, Vegas locals hate the Strip, but at least the Strip you can get some good food. Here you got like Carmine's, John's Pizzeria, and that's it. You're gonna want to make sure you evacuate the dance floor on a semi-regular basis, meaning you gotta go to the restroom. When you go off the 7 train, inside Hudson Yards there's a mall, and you can go to the restrooms on any of the floors there. Now, here's a spot that we actually don't have time to visit today, but my friend Noreen from Where To Now has featured several times on her channel, Little Spain. Check her channel out, she's amazing, she's awesome. And Little Spain is the shit.
Now you can go straight to the Highline, or I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you this, you could head upstairs to the Edge. What is the Edge, you ask? Well, it is an outdoor and indoor observation deck atop Hudson Yards. It offers spectacular, almost corner side views of the entire city and beyond. And while it's not the most interactive observation deck that New York City has to offer, in my opinion, it is the most serene. I absolutely love it up here. It's gorgeous. I highly, highly recommend it.
So this is the entrance to the Highline just at the foot of Hudson Yards. The Highline itself are abandoned train tracks, and it was not a destination, it was not a place to go. It was kind of just out of sight, out of mind. And then what the city did was they greenified it. They turned it into beautiful park space. And you can come here day or night. If you're on a first date, like my First Date Vegas series, you can come here, hold hands, watch the sunset, maybe have a first kiss, maybe have a fight and break up, maybe you make up. Who knows? But all the possibilities are limitless here. So it starts here in Midtown at Hudson Yards, takes you through Chelsea, elevated about a story or two above the street, and into the Meatpacking District, which is where we're going to take this walk to today. So I'm going to shut up now and let the views speak for themselves on the Highline. Let's go.
Highline's gonna leave you on the corner of Gansevoort and Washington Streets. Go down to West 11th and make a left, then make a right on Hudson Street and go down about 2 blocks, then make another left on Perry Street, and just like that, we arrive at our next destination.
For all you Sex and the City and Just Like That fans, because season 2 was infinitely better than season 1, on Perry Street between West 4th and Bleecker is the Carrie, Bradshaw, Brownstone. There are her windows on the 2nd floor. Now, in the lore of the show, it's on the Upper East Side, but in reality, it's in the West Village. Now, they got the private property chains. The owner will have no problem accepting money from HBO for decades to shoot in front of it, but then they don't like it when people come and take pictures in front of it. That's kind of hypocritical, if you ask me. So after you leave Carrie's house, you can walk down the rest of the West Village, and if you find yourself in Sheridan Square, you come to the Stonewall Memorial and Stonewall itself. What is Stonewall, if you don't know? It is where the LGBTQIA plus rights movement started in 1969 when a bunch of NYPD officers attacked, massacred a bunch of individuals just here to have a drink and a good time who were in the gay community. But they fought back, and that was the beginning of the rights movement. Now, you can look this up and find out all the intricacies of that. I can't do it justice myself, but it's a fun place to get a drink, hang out, get some food, and just sit down in the park and enjoy yourself and see a place that is very historical and very important to the life and the heartbeat of this city.
Barnes Noble, Papaya Dog, gone. And J&R Music World, gone.
So after you leave Sheridan Square, you can walk down West 8th Street and come to Washington Square Park. Fun fact, it's named after George Washington. A couple more fun facts. Right across the street is the building where Will Smith and his dog lived in I Am Legend. Now, that fountain over there used to be edged to the side. And then what they did was they moved it over to be center with the archway and the view of the new World Trade Center. It's back in the 90s before pot was legal. This was the place to go if you were a 90s kid to get weed. If you want to lose a lot of money because you think you're good at chess, you're not. The people who live in this park, people who play chess in this park will beat your ass, but good luck trying. Fun fact, taking it all the way back over 100 years ago, this was the original Potter's Field. No one lived this far north, so they buried all the bodies here. Mass graves are underneath Washington Square Park, which is why it's so lush. It's basically the playground of NYU. And down the block, we're not going to go there, but down the block is a triangle factory where the Triangle Massacre was that brought about mass change for warehouses and factories. Look that up as well. So Washington Square Park, come on in, skateboard, play with kids. There's a dog park, way more family friendly than it was when I grew up in the 90s. Watch the movie Kids if you want to see what that was like. Now, if you're in the mood for an early dinner or just a drink or some really great appetizers to hold you over, you can go to La Lanterna di Vittorio. That is my favorite Italian restaurant on Manhattan Island, and especially in the West Village. Now, downstairs, they used to be adjoined with the oldest jazz club on the island that now looks like it might actually be for rent. I'm not entirely sure. This is news to me. It's shocking and it's sad. But regardless, the pizza here is great, the wine here is great, the bread here, the cheese, and they have a beautiful lantern outdoor greenhouse area to sit in the back. Very romantic, perfect for a date or just hanging out with friends. I highly recommend it. Not gonna stop there today because it's not quite time for dinner, but I will be going there next time I come back to New York. All right, moving on. You want to see the best basketball players and handball players in the world. Turn right on McDougal on West 3rd.
1 block to the corner of West 3rd and 6th Avenue.
These guys and gals are no fucking joke. Do not come here thinking that you can dribble a little and maybe dunk and do your thing. They will embarrass you. It's like when Charlie Murphy thought he could play basketball against Prince. Game. Blouses. There's no pancakes, bitches. Pros have come down here and gotten embarrassed. I promise you, if you love b-ball and handball, this is the place to just kick back, check them out. Okay, now we're getting on the train. Gross.
You want to see the best basketball players and handball players in the world? Turn right on McDougal on West 3rd. 1 block to the corner of West 3rd and 6th Avenue. These guys and gals are no fucking joke. Do not come here thinking that you can dribble a little and maybe dunk and do your thing. They will embarrass you. It's like when Charlie Murphy thought he could play basketball against Prince. Game. Blouses. There's no pancakes, bitches.
Okay, now we're getting on the train. Gross. Suffolk Canal on the C of the E, make sure you go to the very front exit. This way you avoid having to cross over Canal Street itself, because that's a friggin' nightmare. Avoid Chinatown, avoid the half a block that is Little Italy. It just is not worth it. Instead, come down to Tribeca, AKA the demilitarized zone, like Egon said in Ghostbusters. Yes, that's the actual house from the first, second, really third, but technically fourth, and soon to be fifth movies in the franchise. I grew up in Ghostbusters, I absolutely love it. They have the sign outside. They also have the Ghostbusters 2 sign on the inside. People come and take pictures all the time, so can you. If you're really nice and the doors are open, the firefighters will let you kind of creep in and take pictures of the inside, even though they didn't shoot on the inside, they only shot on the outside. But in my opinion, it's a landmark. It's movie royalty as far as locations go, and it's pretty unchanged from all the way back when they shot it in 1983. It came out in 84, don't correct me, they shot in 83, so stop it. "20 Northmore, just across the street really from the Ghostbusters Firehouse. This is where JFK Jr. lived, leading right up to his passing when his plane crashed. So if you're a JFK or JFK Jr. aficionado, this is where he lived. So just down the block is Leonard and Hudson. This is not a sight to see. This used to be Tribeca Florals. I worked here in 2001. So it's a little New Yorker in Vegas tidbit. From right here, pretty much right here, because there was scaffolding, this is where I watched almost the entirety of 9/11 happen. So that's not something to be celebrated, but it's just a very personal memory for me from 22 years ago now. I can't believe it. It happened right here. It's no longer the flower shop, but this is where I was. And now, if you turn this way, you can see the new World Trade Center right up there. The Twin Towers are kind of just to the side of it, and this is where I watched them collapse. I call this, focus, the Tetris building. We didn't go there today, but Bubby is one of the best brunches in the city, best brunch in Tribeca, and they have a cow. All right, so now if you want to stop, get a drink, take a pee, just hang out at a really fun spot in Tribeca, Puffy's Tavern, best tavern in this part of town. If you go in there and you see a beautiful woman as a bartender, her name's Crystal, tell her Shane sent you. Puffy's Tavern is the best. Staple Street. You've seen it. It doesn't need an explanation. In fact, right now there's a photo shoot going on, so I'm gonna wrap this up real quick and get out of their line of sight. Great place to take some shots for the Instagram. So after you leave Tribeca, you can choose to come down to the new World Trade Center / the Memorial / beautiful park. The city and the 9/11 Foundation and all those involved really turned what Ground Zero was, which was a graveyard, a nightmare, a huge gaping hole in the heart of the city, into a flourishing, beautiful park where people gather for lunch, to pay their respects, to go to the museum, for transit and shopping in the Oculus, to view the city from the top of the new tower. You really did a great job here, at least in my opinion. And the eternity fountains that mark, this one's Tower 1, over there is Tower 2, where they stood, stands with the names, friends, co-workers, their names are grouped together so that they could forever be enshrined with their loved ones, with their friends. It's actually cool to touch the stone. It's a beautiful memorial. There's some really beautiful areas. There's the tree that stood the test of time. Everything fell on it, and the tree remains life. There's the sphere that was placed between the towers right over there, and that signified world peace that also survived. The top was crumbled, but it stands over in a new park, over by a Greek Orthodox church, just on the other side of the street. It's a beautiful place and a fitting tribute. It pays the respects to those who were lost, while also healing the city and giving us a place to go to feel at home, feel at peace, and be with the memory of those we lost. I highly recommend it for anyone coming to pay their respects and visit New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, it was gone, but now it's back. Century 21, where you can find everything and nothing all at the same time, both cheap and expensive. If you're a New Yorker, then you know. And if you're not a New Yorker, then I don't know what to tell you. What's in the box? That building has more gold in it than Fort Knox. And if you've seen Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, then you get it. I'm now on Broadway, the Canyon of Heroes. This is where New York City holds parades for any time a New York City team, or New Jersey, like in the Giants or Jets, definitely not the Jets, win a championship. They also had it for the U.S. women's soccer team, I think after their first World Cup. Yes, I went to that. This is Zuccotti Park. This is where Occupy Wall Street occurred. It didn't look like this. They revamped it since then. They remodeled it. Usually lights are on, but they don't have it on. There's a bus right here. And let me tell you something. That's the 28, but this was my bus, the X27 to Bay Ridge. So I used to leave work over in Hudson and Houston, come down the one train to Cortlandt Street by the World Trade Center, and run up here to try to catch my bus to go back to Bay Ridge, because I wasn't taking the train, because fuck that. And this building right here, if you come during the holidays, has a beautiful light show every 15 minutes. Obviously, it's not on now, so I'm just talking about it and doing a poor job of describing it, but you know, you're stuck around this long, so clearly you don't mind mediocrity. So just before we turn down Broadway to the left, down Wall Street, to your right is Trinity Church. It is Gothic and gorgeous, and one of the oldest churches in all of the East Coast, especially Manhattan Island. And right there, that beautiful only white grave you see, because all the other ones are not restored, that's Alexander Hamilton's tomb, interment, final resting place. He died across the river in Jersey in a duel with the other guy, Aaron Burr. I almost forgot. Anyway, for all you Hamilton fans, you can come visit the real dude. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but hey, I'm here doing it, so shows what I know, which is the lyrical, spiritual, international, etherical, and that's my Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's terrible, but if you like spiritual, you can go to services here. And now, after my mediocre Lin-Manuel Miranda impersonation, we're gonna go to true mediocrity. Wall Street. Right here, that's where George Washington was sworn in as the first president. This is where Bane in The Dark Knight Rises came out with the motorcycles and blah, blah, blah. And of course here is the stock market. I went in there once for work. It's kind of cool to go, sure, but it's Wall Street, so like,
The Fearless Girl was first installed in front of the Wall Street Bull on Broadway back in 2017. She can now be permanently found staring down the stock exchange itself right there on Broad Street. And it's Broad Street that we're going to make our way down south on.
Look at all these nice ass cars lining Wall Street. Shows where the money's going.
And on the corner of Broad and Pearl Streets is Fraunces Tavern. It's a still operational pub that served as General Washington's New York headquarters, and it was a location for negotiations between the US and the British. But keep going and turn right on Water Street to come to our next destination, the foot of Battery Park.
So after you've walked this long, beautiful island that is Manhattan, you kind of want to see the whole vista, don't you? The best place to do that is from New York Harbor and take the Staten Island Ferry, the last really true free boat ride that Manhattan has to offer. Now, I do love the New York City ferry system, but you got to pay per ride, and it's not that long. This is about an hour round trip. Take you to Staten Island. I know, you do have to get off to get on the next boat to come back, but it is so worth it. You see the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, New Jersey. It's gorgeous. Did I say the Statue of Liberty? I think I said the Statue of Liberty. I don't know if I did. I've had a long day, and so have you. So get on the ferry, kick your feet up, get a drink, and look at the beautiful sunset, because it's just about that perfect time of day. Let's get on board. this used to be shorty. This used to be where I get my cheesesteaks. Now it's a fucking dispensary. What happened to this city? So after the Staten Island ferry, you're gonna be hungry, and your night's probably just gonna be ready to wrap up. I mean, that's if you're old like me. If you're young like most of these people, you're gonna keep going. But your 12 hours in Manhattan is almost up. So you can just come right up the block to Stone Street. Look, Stones. I wonder where it got its name from. Ooh, there are plenty of restaurants and bars to choose from to eat and drink and laugh the night away, indoors or outdoors under the beautiful lantern lights. We just had pizza. I'm super full, surprise, surprise. My belly and my boobies are bumping. Or you could go up on the train 10, 15 minutes to the East Village and check out that super lively, still fairly genuine New York City nightlife environment. Make it a good time to wrap up your day in Manhattan. What did I miss? Tell me the things in the comments that it's like, dude, how could you leave that off? I don't understand you. Like, you suck. And that's fair, I probably do. But if you think that I didn't suck, maybe like, maybe share, maybe subscribe. And tell me what I should have next time I'm in New York City. I thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all for watching. I love you all for watching. This has been my picks for 12 hours in beautiful Manhattan, New York. My hometown. New York, New York. And I couldn't make it here, so I went to Las Vegas.